a life worth living. I don't know anyone in the industry, or indeed in this room, who doesn't love working with these elite equine athletes. And we all want them to have a life worth living. In my presentation today, I would like to share with you some of our industry initiatives to ensure that thoroughbred racehorses in Great Britain have that life. Our collective goal is to ensure world-class welfare for all our horses. But what is equine welfare? How can we better understand welfare, measure welfare, and improve welfare? To achieve our goal of world-class welfare, we need to have a strong basis of evidence on which to make decisions. You and I know from looking at these photos, this foal and the heads from the stable of these horses are well looked after. But are they all like this? Can we do better? So to answer these questions, we need to be able to collect statistics and benchmark current levels so industry-wide decisions that we make for and on behalf of the horse's well-being are founded on solid science. So why is it vital for the industry now? Just let me set the scene. There is a concern that society in general is challenging the use of horses in sport, and that includes racing. A number of examples are here, and they include statements like, animal welfare is an issue, is not going to go away, or no longer can racing get away with telling the next generation old truths. So for farming, circuses, zoos, dogs, and indeed for racing, there are changes on the way. The sport must be seen as proactive, going above and beyond. Reacting after the fact is not good enough. We cannot dismiss the views of the general public either in the racing industry or in other equestrian sports. As an industry, we need to communicate our welfare story better, and we have to maintain public trust in racing as a recreational sport. The sector as a whole must clearly show the general public that horse welfare is its top priority. What is the view from the public? Here's an example. There was a petition to Parliament considered collecting 100,000 signatures that triggered a debate in last October. The petition was to create a new independent welfare body to protect, and I quote, racehorses from abuse and death, and including statements like meaningful action to stop horses dying. In our presentations to the parliamentary parties regarding this petition, the focus of their concerns were centred around fatalities on race day and non-race day, training injuries and illness, the use of the whip and its current penalties, aftercare, traceability of retired racehorses, surplus breeding of young horses, and the lack of transparency in data that we communicate to the public in general. A clear message was given to us, to the BHA as a regulator, and to the wider industry in no uncertain terms. We have to be bolder, we have to be braver, we have to be more accountable, and we have to be more transparent. So the response from the BHA was to outline a number of projects to show how focused we are on equine welfare and well-being. Our unerring focus is to provide the best life experiences, well-being and care for racehorses throughout their lives. This involves improving the quality of life wherever possible, reducing the risk of poor welfare outcomes, reducing injuries and fatalities, communicating these successes and building public trust. We have to have the best welfare interests of our equine athletes at heart. So to achieve these outcomes, we're focused on, as an industry, equine welfare leadership, measuring and benching current welfare levels, establishing equine traceability throughout the industry, and maintaining and improving trust for the industry. So, how have we been going about achieving these goals? The industry has a lifetime responsibility to its racehorses. To understand this more easily, we've divided a thoroughbred's life into 4 stages during their careers. Before they commence training, during training, once they're on the race course, and after they've retired from racing. I will show you a current project from each of these sectors highlighting the racing industry's focus on measuring and improving well-being. The first one is the before training stage. The BHA has no regulatory control in this area. This is a 30-day foal notification. What this is, with the cooperation of the breeding industry and the stud book, a project was commenced last year. And the stud book now must be notified of all foals born in Great Britain by the time they are 30 days of age. Previously, the industry had little insight into this young group of horses until registration occurred at 12 months old. So now, the 30-day foal notification allows industry to identify the number of foals born, their location, and their movements in this pre-yearling era. This provides the industry with an oversight of traceability horse movements that it did not occur previously. Not only is this important from a welfare considerations, but also from biosecurity and infectious disease aspect. And traceability from source of origin will be important to post-Brexit movements of horses from Great Britain to EU countries. We have worked closely with the breeders and the owners and DEFRA in this area. So this season, we're looking for close to 100% compliance for this foal notification. And as of this morning, I can tell you there are 1,094 foals that have been notified to the stud book. The second sector I'd like to talk about is the post-racing retirement or retraining area. Again, the BHA has no regulatory authority in this area. The industry is led by ROR, or Retraining of Racehorses. This is the charity which is funded directly from the racing industry, and it was established in 2000. Their activities are being copied elsewhere in the world because of the success they have. The industry goal here is to have appropriate long-term homing, traceability, and therefore an insight into continued well-being of ex-racehorses. ROR is responsible for two things in this field. One has been the increasing demand for retired racehorses for recreational activities by highlighting their versatility and adaptability through ROR-sponsored activities. Secondly, they have 10 accredited rehoming centres, which is sponsored by the industry, that support, rehome and retrain vulnerable thoroughbreds. We are looking to improve the traceability of racehorses in this first movement away from the training yard. The present system has barriers that means compliance in this area is suboptimal, and we are losing trace of some of the horses at this time. Many of these horses change hands without ownership being recorded. So we've developed a better data capture through the National Racing Administrative site that the trainers use daily, and the aim of this is to improve that information capture and additionally alert new owners to the benefits of registration through ROR, through CED, and through systems that we can have and maintain traceability through this whole project. Last year, ROR registered just over 2,000 new horses into their system. The next slide I talked about is in training. This is a welfare assessment tool. This is a research project that the industry has undertaken in collaboration with the University of Bristol to help answer the question of what is welfare and how do we measure it. This research looks at the possibility of developing a welfare assessment tool to benchmark and monitor welfare within racing stables. It's a 3-year project. It commenced in 2018 and it's funded by the Racing Foundation. If we can measure welfare consistently and repeatedly with benchmarked outcomes, then we can potentially make improvements based on that assessment through education and communication. We are developing this tool to be utilised by trained individuals to benchmark welfare levels at any racing stable. The successful tool could be taken up by stable inspectors, veterinary officers, welfare officers, as well as stable staff who are then able to self-assess welfare within their own working environment, monitor, and if need be, suggest how to improve welfare further in their own working areas. You can see from this slide it's a very busy research project with many multifactorial inputs to build a tool that may be able to measure welfare. The inputs here are things like physical indicators such as stabling, feeding, staff management, training, work routines, staffing levels, but there are also outcomes to be assessed which include social contact, behavioural observations and psychological measures. The question we are asking ourselves is, can we measure the best life a racehorse can have? And therefore, can we systematically share best practice to improve that well-being? So my last piece is projects that we're working on the racecourse. This final project discusses what happens on race day, and we continue to strive to improve and protect our equine athletes on race days. We have information on injuries, fatalities, infectious disease, anti-doping. We have racecourse information on surface types, obstacles, all of which feed back into our database and allow us to make appropriate decisions from the information we receive. We are always concentrating on improving welfare and protecting our racehorses on race days. This year at the Cheltenham Festival, as indicated in the review recommendations, we have increased our veterinary surveillance. So for the first time, we are collecting and examining medication declarations for all entries prior to the festival. This totals over 900 individual declaration forms and represents just over 40,000 medication days. At the same time, we have been reviewing over 100 of the festival entries, looking at their movement, gaits and medical histories where required to ensure that we are satisfied with the fitness before they come to Cheltenham. And then at Cheltenham, each and every horse will be examined on the day of their race to be passed as in excellent condition and suitable to race. Now these are vital race day wellbeing initiatives to ensure the best outcomes for all those runners. The overall welfare strategy is a joint responsibility of our industry. We can't keep saying it's all fine and expect people in a changing world with changing attitudes simply to take our word for it. Where improvement is possible, we must improve. We are confident that this strategy, with our key focuses and projects, will show we are being braver, bolder and accountable to the industry, to the public and to our horses. So working together, we can assure our horses have a life worth living. Thank you.